Esteemed viewers, it is better to debate a matter without settling it
than to settle a matter without debating it. This is the Great Debaters Contest Season 9. I am your host, Chris Boru.
And I am Esperancia Kapanga. We are in Eastern Region, Machakos County, and in today's debate, the motion is sustainable development should be citizen-driven.
In the proposition, we have Kasikeu Girls High School.
And in the opposition are Machakos Boys High School. Proposer number 1, you have 3 minutes.
A wise man once said, if you want to walk fast, walk alone. But if you want to go far, work as a team. Maureen Kilonzo from Kasikeu Girls High School strongly proposing the motion that states sustainable development should be citizen-driven. Sustainable means progressive, durable. Developments mean changes that bring a positive impact. So that narrows us down to the meaning of sustainable development. Sustainable development thus means changes which bring a positive impact to the society and continue for a long time without ceasing. Sustainable development should be citizen-driven. What does this mean? It means that the citizens own the change and make it a part of their responsibility so that it comes from the heart in order to ensure perfection. On to my first point. Sustainable development, which is citizen-driven, will eradicate all forms of poverty. A menace which is continuing all over the society. Poverty, poverty, poverty. Take time and go to Nairobi, Kibera slums, and see how our people, our own nation, have sunk into immense poverty, not knowing what to do. Some situation which is not beyond our control. If we wanted to change this, we can do it. If only citizens know that it is my responsibility not to be in poverty. So I will work so that I change my situation, working by gaining self-employment. And this will catalyze our reaction to Vision 2030 as people will have employments, thus raising living standards. On to my second point. Sustainable development, which is citizen-driven, will eradicate hunger. Hunger. Can you imagine a person dying of hunger while you yourself is drawing food everywhere? I was reading an article in the newspaper about Turkana, and it was really heartbreaking to see women, children dying of hunger. Yet other citizens somewhere are throwing food. If we want a nation which is having sustainable development, let the citizens understand that if I throw food and my sister somewhere else is suffering, where can I go and also help them? Sustainable development, which is citizen-driven, is going to ensure quality education. Quality education meaning that people from the marginalized areas, if they learn that we are headed to sustainable development, they are going to take their students to school, thus improving the quality of education and also taking us to a better way. So unity is strength. We are catalyzing our movement to Vision 2030. Thank you.
First proposer, you have 3 minutes to make a statement.
We exist in the tomorrow of yesterday and the yesterday of tomorrow. We cannot live today like we're living tomorrow, and we cannot live tomorrow like we're living today. Frederick Nduva is the name from the Great Machakos School. Here, opposing the motion that says sustainable development should be citizen-driven. Sustainable development. This development without the depletion of the natural resources. A citizen is a person who lives in a certain country and he enjoys the freedom of that country. This shows obligation and duty. According to the United Nations Development Program, in May 2015, 193 countries met under the United Nations umbrella, which led to the formation of 17 sustainable development goals, including no poverty, zero hunger, and gender equality. This is a world 15 years from now, free of all poverty, free of all hunger, and the worst effect of climate change. To my first point, according to the National Treasury, 2.8 trillion shillings is the current Kenyan budget. This shows that the government has enough, the much needed capital. The much needed capital for these developments. You cannot tell me a person, one citizen, can fund a project costing 500 million shillings, while some people cannot even manage 50,000 shillings project. This shows that the government has the ability. The government should continue being given the mandate to improve on the country state. To my second point, the government has introduced very many things, very many projects in the country. For example, the IPOA, the Independent Police Oversight Authority, which says that the people can report police brutality. We have the Nyumba Kumi initiative. We have the combination of the general police and the administration police. All these are reforms which are done by the government. But the people, the citizen, do not support these projects. According to publics.com, 56% of Kenyan population does not support these projects by the government. They just look at the negative parts of the government. They don't look at what is positive, what the government has done. This initiative, these reforms will ensure security in the country, but the people of Kenya do not appreciate the government at all. Where is this country heading to? We should support the government in what they are doing. This is a matter you should think about. Thank you.
Second proposal, you have 3 minutes for cross-examination.
A nation that embraces national integration is prone to be successful. I go by the name Immaculate Ndanu from Kasikeu Girls High School, strongly proposing the motion that states sustainable development should be citizen-driven. First of all, you talked of government. We are talking about citizens themselves. We are not involving the government. You talked of the Nyumba Kumi policy. If you're talking about Nyumba Kumi, how are these Nyumba Kumi, if it really exists, how about those poor people in the community? How are they benefiting from this government? Here we are talking, the matter is all about the citizens themselves being cooperative and to bring in development in our nation. You also talked about the leaders. These leaders are the ones whom we have been electing leaders. How about their position when they get the positions? How are they going to utilize the resources in the government? Are they benefiting the citizens or are they benefiting themselves? We as Kenyans, we are crying of corruption every now and then. How about our leaders? Are they really concerned about us? On to my first point. Sustainable development will lead to industrial development. This is when the citizens, as citizens, we come to agreement and say that it's about development. We rely on ourselves. We don't rely on the government. We don't rely on the members on the parliament. We don't rely on our political leaders because we are tired of electing them, yet they can't work for us. We come together and say that we as the citizens, we are able. Take for example, in Kenya, we all know that the urban centers are all developed. See how they are developed. How about our rural areas? We come and agree that we are going to delocalize the industries in the rural area, in the urban centers to the rural areas. See the impact they cause to the rural areas. First of all, they bring employment to the rural people. Second, they'll improve their living standards. How about these youth who are in the rural areas? They don't have employment. They go ahead finding jobs in these industries. They are going to reduce the social crimes which are engaged in the society. How about in the urban centers? You are going to reduce the number of people in the urban centers. We are all complaining of high population in urban centers, causing crimes. How about in the rural areas? People have migrated. As Kenyans, we can also agree that agricultural projects in the rural areas, when the people are, in fact, Kenya, we are blessed. When we all based on the citizen-driven development. When we go back to the rural areas, we are going to specialize on the agricultural products. How about these agricultural products are going to bring about citizens' developments by engaging the citizens in agricultural activities, which will bring sustainable development from the projects. Let's work in unity as citizens, and as we say, unity is strength. Thank you.
Second opposal, you have 3 minutes for cross-examination.
Look how far we've come now. I want to take that song done by the American secular artist Jason Derulo in the 2018 FIFA World Cup. I choose this phrase so that we can appraise the government for leading us into greater heights and taking us from the abyss which we have come from. The name's Eugene Wesley from the great Machakos School. And I'm here to strongly oppose the motion that states sustainable development should be citizen-driven. I'd like to answer the question as raised by one of the speakers from the other team, that how will this eradicate poverty? How will the government eradicate poverty? Well, I'd like to tell you that the government has provided health services for free in like the NHIF cover that covers families and also students in all schools, and has also begun in a creation of new jobs in which by 2030 there should be a rise of 100,000 new jobs for people, as said so by perspective.com. Also, agricultural farms have been involved in teaching people the benefits of farming and loaning. For example, today's Golden Scape Company. I hope I've answered your question. On to my first point, clean energy. The government has now induced in taking a project that is right now the largest in Africa, called the Turkana Wind Farm Project. As you may know, the project is expected to be done by the year 2029 that will contribute at least 40% of the total energy supply expected within the country. This was begun with a total capital of 459 million euros. Where do you expect to get such a capital from the citizens? The citizens do not have neither the capability nor even the whole ingenuity as provided by a government that can initialize as large projects like we do. Also, we have introduction of the way the government has taken care of government forested areas, that is reducing the climate change order in today's Kenya. Prevention of desertification has been a stress in most countries within the world, but within Kenya we have found that more than 30% of these forested areas are under mandatory protection, and that they have banned logging in such areas and also issuing of hefty fines that are rising above 4 million and also not less than a jail term of 6 years if found in such an area. We also have the issue of health. The government, as I've said earlier, the government has provided the NHIF cover, which applies for students and also to the family. People, let's be wise. Let's not see how the government hasn't improved on other areas. Let us see the steps in which it has taken to the future. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. And the question I'm asking you today, are we ready to take that step into the future with the government, or are we ready to take it to the past? I rest my case.
The proposers have been asked, in as much as sustainable development can be driven by the citizens, doesn't it still fall back to the government to provide avenues and opportunities for these citizens to execute their ideas? The opposers, on the other hand, have been asked, if the government has enough money and enough capital to start up the infrastructural projects, then why is it that we are still borrowing money and are in debt as a country? Proposer number 3, you have 3 minutes to respond.
It is about the citizens who are willing to change and eradicate poverty. If then you are talking about the government, why are they not doing anything? Ever since we started the government, why are we not seeing changes? Christine Danu from Kasikeu Girls High School strongly proposing the motion that states sustainable development should be citizen-driven. I'd like to ask a question to the opposer side. Why is it still their poverty if the government is working? And if you speak of the government's education, why then is there a rival between the government and citizens? On to my first point. Sustainable development should be citizen-driven because it ensures proper sanitation and water. We have had cases of people dying, death, outbreak of diseases like cholera and typhoid. Take, for example, in Turkana County, people are dying because of drinking contaminated water. In Madare, people are dying because of outbreak of diseases, and due to that, it is because of proper sanitation. But if we as citizens come together in large numbers and we share out our ideas, we can help Turkana County maintain clean water by recycling or using chlorine to make them maintain a proper hygiene. And in Matare, we can put for them trash bins so that they may be able to dispose their waste very well instead of exposing their waste from one place to another. On to my second point. Sustainable development should be citizen-driven because it ensures gender equality. In USA, why can't we take USA as our role models? USA has developed and it is still developing because of equality and unity. They forgot about their gender value and kept it aside and said that we are going to develop our country. If we as Kenyans use the same methods that the United States of America is using, we can make our country be one of the most developing countries in the whole world. Think big, dream big, and your future will be big. Thank you.
First opposer, you have 3 minutes to make a statement.
Shagala bagala, sitasimama maovu ya kitawala, sitasimama maovu ya kitawala. I believe Giuliani was not insane when he used this statement to show us that the small things we ignore will be the big things that are going to be our demise. The tag is Brian Mutuku from the Machakos School, ready to propose the motion that states sustainable development should be citizen-driven. I have been asked a question that the Kenyan budget is actually at $2.8 trillion, but we are actually facing poverty. The Kenyan population is at 40 million, according to kenyaplex.com. Do the math and you'll get that 270.5 shillings is the amount of money that is awarded or segregated for each citizen. So it's about how the citizen uses the money and not how the government provides the money. Yet my opponent stands here and says that citizens are the only way to go and the only path to a better success or to a better country, Kenya. Kenya was known as an agricultural champion and a sporting champion, but we are now known as a corruption casino and a corruption hub. Take a minute and ask yourself the question, why, oh why? According to kenyaplex.com, we see that the agricultural production of Kenya has actually decreased by half over the last decade, and that the soil productivity rate is decreasing at a constant 4.75% per annum. Corruption and bribery. These are vices that we often experience in our country. Corruption begins from the individual. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. If you want to destroy Kenya, start with the citizen. Corruption in developing countries is actually at $29.8 trillion to curb this vice. Actually, this money should actually be put to better use by encouraging the citizens who earn less than $1.25 a day. The SGR, Nairobi Bypass, Thika Garissa Highway, all these are projects by the government that has termed to be successful. But my opponent here is only a pessimist and only sees the bad things. The Nyumba Kumi initiative was started so as to perfect the sustainable development goal, peace, justice, and strong institution. I am here to give you a better way, a plan B, a better path to a better Kenya, a better country, and a better world. My first opponent said that Kenya is actually the best in sustainable development. But I actually said to him, look at countries like Germany, China, India. Germany has free education, free medical cover. Finland has free public transport. Yet you can say that Kenya is actually on its way. No. Citizens, you'll have to boost your job, you'll have to boost your part so as to encourage and produce a better country and a better world. The 2018 World Food Day theme, our actions are our future, A better world by 2030 is possible. Thank you.
Proposition, you have 1 minute for your final submission.
It is surprising that the opposing team is actually giving me points. The first one, if you want to destroy, I quote what the third opposer has just said, if you want to destroy Kenya, start with the citizens. So that gives us the base of all this. It is the citizens. So if we have citizens who are driven, think about Kenya in the next 2 years, if we start being driven right now. You have also sung, Nikonja tasiwezi, but listen, you are talking about hunger. And if this government is so good that you're saying it will help us, why hasn't it helped us since that song was released? It was released long time ago. Why is the government not doing anything? We need citizens who are driven. Thank you.
Opposers, you have 1 minute to make a final submission.
In life, there is time for everything. There is time to stand and time to sit. There is time to walk and time to run. There is also time to say what need be said, and that is what I'm here to do. My friend has just said that I'm giving them points, but I'm telling you, open your eyes and see what a clear future, a clear Kenya we have. We have seen the banning of plastic bags recently, and the fine, according to kenyaplex.com, is at 4 million shillings per paper bag. This is how much the country, the government of Kenya is striving and mandating these rules so we can all live in a better country. You talk about citizens, they're doing their job. Look at theft. 42.8 million Kenyans or primary school age children live in conflict-affected areas. Monkey see, monkey do is what they say. If you employ this, you will see the citizens 40 years to come, they'll be engaging in Al-Qaeda, Al-Shabaab, Mungiki. Are in these citizens who are in this progress? Are in these citizens who are doing these things to us? May we please give this a consideration and a better way and a better child. Don't forget that united we stand, divided we fall. I rest my case.
Kasikeu girls, you had points, which I can't dispute I can't argue that they are bad points. However, I felt that you kept on telling us that we need to involve citizens. The question I kept on grappling with, and I think someone has just asked it from the stage, is how do we involve the citizens? Where do we get these resources from? Fine, they can contribute, but how do we steer the development? How is it supposed to be steered? I felt if you could have probably given us the mechanism of steering it. You talked about water, providing clean water. In my neighborhood, how do I ensure that this clean water is provided? That's one of the questions I kept on grappling with. If maybe you'd have given us alternatives, probably, I thought maybe you'd have demonstrated clear angle of your research.
Machakos, MacB for that matter, when we talk about sustainable development should be citizen-driven, I mean, you're arguing against it. At one point, I felt you were giving your opponents the points. Brian, when you talked about corruption and bribery, you were giving them a weak link to hit you. You did not clearly, bring out an argument that the people who are corrupt are actually the citizens. So the government has to come in to ensure that, the government has to come in with various policies to ensure that probably the citizens are scared of engaging in corruption or something like that. And then for Eugene, I found you to be a powerful debater. However, I'd like you to bring in a variety of examples. Don't tie this motion to the national context. Bring in various examples globally. Do we have countries where citizens have, do we have countries in the world where we've seen governments ensuring that whatever they come up with has worked? May the best team win.
I want to appreciate you. Just standing on stage and speaking is not a joke. And so for you to have made it all the way and spoken, I want to appreciate that. So just generally, all of you, the confidence levels, amazing, okay? So go home knowing very well that at least there was something very positive noticed. Sustainable development should be citizen-driven. And I think one of the hosts just questioned you and saying, and I think that actually that one goes to Machakos School, who are saying that, you know what, it should be government-driven. And I think that was your major angle of saying that this is government-driven. So to the opposers, who are the proposers, definitely, you could have looked at it and asked yourself, isn't the government then constituted by the citizens and the leaders as well, elected by the citizens themselves? So I think there was a way of just looking at it in a deeper way that would have actually made this debate more interesting. So there was more to be desired.
Finally, the judges have come to a decision. Machakos Boys High School, the judges awarded you 68%. Let's give them a round of applause. Kasikeu girls, you earned yourself 64%. Let's give them a round of applause. Congratulations to both schools for the effort put in.
Quite indeed. Esteemed audience, viewers, remember, you can also be part of the show by not only tuning in, but by also following the conversation with the hashtag GDC for SDGs across our social media platform. Note, if it wasn't on the Great Debaters Contest, then it wasn't a debate.
I have been your host, Esperancia Kapanga.
Until the next episode, I am Chris Buru. Stay tuned.